Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. We are broadcasting from the Thacker Jewelry Studios. Start your story with engagement rings and wedding bands from Thacker Jewelry, online at thackerjewelry.com. And we're on the phones with Dr. Michelle McCord from Frenship ISD, the superintendent out at Frenship ISD. Dr. McCord, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Well,
Doing great.
How's,
Thank you for having me.
How has the start of the Friendship school year been?
Well, it has been crazy, but good. So we have about 85% of our learners are face-to-face, and about 15% are virtual. So when I say crazy, it's just all the new protocols in place, the safety protocols, and then basically standing up to school districts, if you will, a virtual and a face-to-face.
So do y'all have it set up where you have teachers that are only doing virtual, or is it set up to where the teachers are having to juggle both?
So in elementary, it's a little simpler, because in many ways you have one teacher for a good, part of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So in elementary, you either do face-to-face or virtual. You don't do both. At secondary, so that's grades 6 through 12, you have virtual and face-to-face, but we don't mix them together in the same class period. So I'm a teacher, and I have maybe 2 periods of virtual learners and then, 4 periods of face-to-face learners.
Gotcha.
Dr. McCord, Dave King here this morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, there are some, and I don't know how many, possibly very few, but some schools have ended their virtual learning and requiring students to all come back to class.
Yes.
Any thoughts or let's put it this way: do you think both virtual and in-class learning are working for you?
I think in-class learning is working fabulously. We've been perfecting that model for many years.
Right.
I would say virtual learning, the jury is still out on that. So let me say that I don't think it's for lack of hard work on the teacher's part, and in many cases the parent-student part. But to be honest, we have students across the city and across the state that are not being successful with the virtual learning model.
So have y'all had a problem? I know that it's something that has been taking some time to figure out all the students where they are and what they're doing, but have y'all had any problems at all getting all your students back to school?
We have had, yes, we've had problems. Now we've worked the phones and gone and, knocked on doors, and so we have found our kiddos, but we had the first day of school, we had about 400 less than we anticipated. But come to find out, a lot of that was parents who wanted virtual learning, but they didn't sign up for virtual learning. And again, because all of that is new.
Right.
They registered for school, but they didn't register for virtual learning. And many of them, since they didn't sign up for virtual learning, we didn't expect them. And so we said, well, you really have to return to school face-to-face. And many of them said, well, we're just not going to come to school then, period. We're not going to go anywhere. And so we decided to back off that hard deadline, let them try virtual. But we're at the end of a 6 weeks grading period tomorrow. And so we're seeing hundreds of kids coming back. The parents have decided that virtual learning is not what they expected. It's harder, So last spring, we were just putting in stopgap measures, and so no one really knew what to expect for this year. So,
well, Dr. McCord, it's not an option to keep your kids home from school, is it?
No, sir. It's not.
Not if they're over 6 years old. By September, I think. But
yes.
My kids are doing virtual, and the one thing I've noticed is that keeping them going is the hardest part. Something that should be done by 2 or 3 in the afternoon sometimes takes us until 5 in the afternoon, just because the focus is not there.
Yeah.
And so that's the hardest part, is keeping them focused and moving. But other than that, we really haven't had a lot of issues as far as them learning stuff and getting it. But that's neither here nor there, I guess. But I just want to say that there is it's a lot harder when you don't have a whole classroom situation where every single student is focused on one thing. You've got them doing different things or whatever. So
well, and then I say this with all due respect, teaching is hard. And keeping kids engaged, that's a full-time job. So whether you have 2 or 22 in a classroom, it's hard to keep them focused, and that's why teaching, it really is rocket science. It really is. But I would say this, that, it sounds like many virtual learning situations at home, I no doubt they're doing fine. Yeah. But we have some situations in which parents are going to work and leaving their children at home
they're not doing
alone to learn. Yeah, that's not working out too well.
I was going to say, well, you leave a kid at home and tell him to do something, what's the likelihood they're going to do it?
Yeah, and, but the other part of that, too, is some people are really struggling economically because of, all the issues that have gone on with the pandemic. And, I know Lubbock is thriving more than other cities, thank goodness. But we have teenage kiddos that they're working full-time and trying to do virtual in the evening to help, pay the bills, keep the lights on.
That doesn't leave them a lot of time for school.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And so it's just, I'm not really sure how long the virtual learning option will last. Here in Friendship, we're not in a place to say we're going to stop the virtual learning right now. We've got, too many kids that are participating in it. And then, some people have really extenuating circumstances. We learned this week of one of our students. This is just one story. She has half of a lung, and she has pneumonia. Now, she didn't have COVID, related to COVID, and we have a student on dialysis. And so, of course, they're at high risk. They need to stay home. So we want to continue to have virtual options for them.
So speaking of COVID, have you had to shut down any classrooms or shut down any schools because of that?
We haven't shut down any schools, but we have quarantined, I think, 2 classrooms, maybe 3, and we quarantined that classroom because they're what I would call littles. So we require you to wear a mask beginning in the 4th grade. And so if we have someone has a positive case that's a kindergartner, well, nobody in that classroom except the teacher was wearing a mask. Except here and there, we'll have a parent who requires their kiddo to wear a mask, but we don't require it. So we've quarantined the class, for as long as the health department tells us. But the good news of that is, so I'm so thankful for, that first time that happened to us was the first week of school on Friday. And so the good news is all those kids are back in class, and no one else got it. Yeah. So that's one really kiddo had it, and it didn't spread. So that is that shows us the cleaning procedures and all that are helping.
That's really good news. I'll tell you, Dr. McCord, we've got it's 7:16, and we'll take a quick break and come back and let's talk about what is in store for all the students out there at Friendship coming up.
No, we also need to talk about a bond issue that's going to be on the ballot in November. So
let's talk about it all.
Yeah, we still have a lot to talk about with Dr. McCord, Superintendent of Frenship ISD. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin, and we've got Dr. Michelle McCord from the Superintendent of Frenship ISD, and we were just talking a little bit about what was going on in Friendship, but we do have a bond election coming up November 3rd. We want to make sure to kind of talk about that, and maybe we can try to have you on one more time before then, maybe in October sometime. But it's important to remember that this election was actually moved, so want to remind people about that. Dr. McCord, what's in this bond election that's coming up?
Oh, yes, thank you. It was moved. It was postponed. We originally were slated to have this election in May, but it is a just shy of $300 million bond projects, and those projects include a 4th middle school, a 9th elementary school, and a second comprehensive high school. And then also we are going to be repurposing a ninth grade center that we currently have and repurposing it into Friendship Middle School, which is currently in our oldest instructional facility, and some renovations. And that totals up to almost $300 million.
Yeah. And all of that's going to be in the November election now.
Yes, it is. So again, we had there hadn't been very many positive things about, the economy and this crazy days of COVID. But one of the things that did help us by having to delay is that we were able to pay down more of our debt, our existing debt. And so while we had last year projected a 3-penny increase in the overall tax rate, instead, that's going to be a fraction of a penny increase to the overall tax rate.
Which is excellent. So anyway, y'all need a new high school. Y'all have been kind of busting at the seams there at Friendship ISD. We have.
It's a great challenge to have, but it does create challenges. One of the things I wanted to share is that even in the midst of this pandemic, we are still one of the fastest growing school districts in the state of Texas, and we continue to add more students. One of the great things about Lubbock, Texas, is that despite what you're hearing about the economy in other places, I certainly don't want to minimize any hardship anyone is going through here, but you continue to see houses pop up everywhere, and we had $400 million worth of new properties within the Friendship ISD attendance boundaries this past school year.
Yeah, so a lot of movement that direction. And
I'll tell you, Dr. McCord, my wife and I sometimes just drive around just to get out of the house, and we have driven around your area, and it is absolutely stunning to see some of the homes that are being built out there. I mean, some multi-million-dollar homes that are going up. And you say $400 million is that residential and commercial?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's
so
both.
$400 million of new properties have been built out there last year.
Yes, and
wow.
Then also, most of our appraisals went up this year if you are a homeowner, and
right.
So we saw an increase there. And as you know, Friendship school districts don't set appraised values. That is the appraisal district who does that. But nevertheless, all of those things, and low interest rates, all of that kind of stir all that together, and we got some. We're able to pay down debt and in turn not impact the financial impact is a lot less. So the average home value in Friendship is $191,000, and so with this bond election, the monthly impact on an average homeowner, it would be $1.12 a month. So the annual impact for the average homeowner would be $13.44.
Yeah. So again, that's a big deal, and because it's changed, we want to make sure everybody's aware of it. Also, it should, because it is a presidential election and everything's going to be on the same ballot. I mean,
yes.
Everything. You should get one heck of a turnout for it.
We should. Yeah, I'm excited. The only thing I'm a little bummed about is that, for some reason they're not putting our bond election at the top of the ballot. They're putting us at the bottom of the ballot. So be persistent and, persevere to the end.
Well, one positive about that, I guess, I'm a fan of the straight ticket ballots, but they don't allow that anymore.
No,
so you have to do every single thing anyway.
Oh, good. Good.
So hopefully they'll make it to the end of the ballot.
Well, I hope so. And of course, I just want people to vote. This is this experiment that we call a democracy. Its success depends on people engaging and voting. Vote your heart, but just please register to vote. The last day to register to vote is October the 5th.
Yeah.
Can you tell
That's
us,
right.
just off the top of your head, what the average homeowner, what it will cost the average homeowner?
The average homeowner, it's going to cost them $1.12 a month.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, Dr. McCord, thank you for coming on. Again,
Yes.
Superintendent of Friendship ISD. And like I said, hopefully we'll get you on again in October just to give people one more kind of reminder of what's going on there at Friendship. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a great day.
All right, you too.